So let's welcome Dr. Manju Rajaratnam. And
let's see where this works. Please. Okay. So thank you for everyone who come, and I hope this is an encouragement for me. And I'm here, hopefully at the end of the day, you all will be encouraged to take a little bit more time and effort to deal with mental health. So as this slide goes there, you've been reading that. So the next one, how do I go? That way. On? Oh, so like just said, almost half the Australians would in their lifetime be affected by mental health. And this is what surprises me as well. Some of you all would have seen this slide before. Every year, there are about 3,000 people in Australia alone who take their lives. And that means it's about 7 to 8 people every day. That's really a high number. That's we worry about physical health, skin cancers, and road traffic accidents, deaths and things. But if you look at it, much more people die out of mental health issues. And the World Health Organization feels that in 10 years' time, that would be the number one issue in all our minds. I think it's a number one issue, but it'll definitely only increase. So basically, the aim of today's talk is to encourage emotional fitness. I'm sure all of us are very concerned about our physical fitness. We go to the gym, we work out, we know what to eat, what to do, and but here we are today to get the mental fitness going as well. And that's why I said, yes, we can. That means each one of us can play a role in this and can make effective changes. So to do this, first of all, we need to understand what causes mental health and why do humans suffer. That's the most important question, obviously, but it's a very big topic. We'll just touch the surface today, and hopefully we can all look into it a bit further. So the first thing we have to realize is humans are absolutely unique. We are the only ones who are, on one hand, we are the wisest, the smartest, the selfless and happy people. And on the other hand, humans are the most evil, destructive, and the saddest species. Animals don't go through this at all. So humans are very unique. Why is that? The fact is, we are not just a physical being with just a collection of cells, but we also have this unexplainable, it's a mystery, this non-physical or invisible part of us. That's the part that thinking part of us, and also it's not a part of the brain. So it is really a non-physical part. And so it's really beyond matter, because it's not part of the brain at all, or part of our body at all. And it's beyond space. It doesn't take space, the mind. And it's beyond time too, because we can think about the past, the present, the future. We dream, that all happens. So it's not even confined to time. So this is not only beyond time, matter, and space, but it's also beyond science. Science is unable to really explain what it is and how it really works. They can describe it, but they really don't understand as scientists, we don't understand the basics of it. So to understand this, what brain is and how complex brain itself is, and then to understand what mind is, I thought I'll put this, I like this slide. So basically our brain is a collection of cells. It just weighs 1.4 kilograms of cells, that's all. And our body has got trillions and trillions of cells. Each one of our cells has got the same DNA, but how come one becomes a brain cell, looks very different, and one becomes a heart cell, function differently and looks different? So that itself was quite amazing. But it's 100 billion brain cells in our brain, just to show how amazing our brain itself is. If you start counting one by one a cell, every second a cell, you know how long it'll take to count the cells? 3 years. More than 3 years. That's amazing, isn't it? So let's not talk about how much time it will take to count the number of cells in our body. Then these cells are very specialized. So they're like electrical wiring, actually. They've got this long, almost a meter long tail. And at the end of it, it's got little branches called dendrites, but like roots. So they connect to lots of each cells. So the 100 billion cells are connected to each cells. So the total wiring will be about 850,000 kilometers. And each cell is going to attach to another 40,000 cells. That's called a synapsis. That's how they meet cells, connect up to cells. And that's that many. Why I'm talking about this thing is because, just to show again how complex it is. So that's how it's all a mess in there, but it's all well-organized mess. So why I talk about the synapses is that's where we talk about the neurotransmitters like dopamines and all that. What happens is we get electrical connection come through this nerve, axons, or whatever we call it, and then they communicate through neurotransmitters they call. Those are the dopamines, serotonins, endorphins. So that's how they connect and talk to each other, nerves. And there are actually a natural strengthener, natural antidepressant, natural energy boost in our body, and a natural stress and pain relievers. So this is what makes a difference in us. So what also happens if we go back, when you send something, it just hundreds and millions of those little things releases these hormones, and then these hormones get uptaken back again to release again next time. That's how it works. It reuses those dopamines. So just remember that, because that's how I want to talk about the medications later. That's how the medications work. What it does, it stops the reuptake. So let's talk about that later. So what happens with these is, the moment we have a calming thought or a loving thought, what happens is these molecules spikes up, fires up, spikes up. And then there's another, it also, the parasympathetic nervous system it's called, what it does is these are the effect of it. The good hormones come up, so we feel all these good symptoms, euphoric, energized, relaxed. And then parasympathetic nervous system, it works, it's called autonomic nervous system. It's automatically, without we knowing itself, our thought itself will trigger all those symptoms, and our body would work normally, and our body functions normally. And we end up feeling calm, relaxed, and emotionally and physically well-being as well. At the same time, what happens if we have a bad toxic thoughts? This is what exactly happens. When you have a bad toxic thought, what happens is these feel-good hormones depletes. And then, unfortunately, we've got an alarm system at the back of our brain. It is actually there to sense danger. So that doesn't differentiate between real danger, a lion chasing you, for example, or you are having these bad toxic thoughts, where you think you are perceived danger. So it fires up anyway. It's like a motion sensor, literally. It doesn't know the difference. If any motion comes up, it picks it up. So once it picks up and triggers, what happens? It gets this motion going to fight or flight. I mean, you might have heard those response. It's called a fight or flight response. So our body gets geared into all these. It's a very useful system, because if it's a real danger, we need that. So, but what happens is when you have a bad thought, the same thing happens. So once our feel-good hormones, I call it, or neurotransmitters, those goes down, our mood, low mood, we don't feel energized. So these are the symptoms of actually depression as well. So, and then what happens is also once this amygdala, or the alarm system, goes off, and all these reaction as well comes in there. So we become very vigilant, very reactive. So because we are on alert all the time, and that's the anxiety. And the symptoms of anxiety is obviously, you can see there, is you're unable to concentrate, you're confused, you become irrational, you are restless, you can't sleep. Then you go to the doctor and ask for sleeping tablets. But then your muscles get tense because you're ready to fight or flight. And your heart is pounding away, you're short of breath, you can't breathe. Then all your body function also on hold now, because you're in danger, you're running away from a danger, your body is thinking. So it shuts off all these unnecessary things, unnecessary bodily functions for now. You need to survive. So it shuts off your digestive system, your immune system, and all that is shut down. So what patients think is, they don't think what caused the problem. And none of us think as well. And we come to the doctor, and normally what we do, if somebody comes and complains and say, I can't sleep, we ask a few questions, say, okay, a sleeping tablet, or we give you a little bit of sleep hygiene maybe. Tense muscles, back pain, neck pain, get x-rays done, scans done, nothing's wrong with you. And then we medicate them, blood pressure is high, chest pains, go to the cardiologist, all that stuff. And so then more scans and more scans. And I've seen patients like this. We as doctors as well, we forget to ask the root cause, ask them, is everything okay? We start treating the symptoms, it's just a Band-Aid. Yes, it's important to treat the symptoms, but the root cause is important as well. So the problem is, if you repeatedly, this is okay in a short term, if we get some danger, we have this reaction, it's good for you, it's gone. But if you repeatedly think this is what's going to happen, basically, becomes toxic. It's like having a small dose of poison, little by little every day, because the hormones are toxic eventually, and it's going to affect you physically as well, mentally and physically as well. And then you won't die immediately, obviously, no, but it will start to slowly but surely, emotionally you die initially, and then physically you become unwell too. So this is the biggest risk factor, one of the biggest risk factors, I would say, for many disorders. The risk factor we don't think about. We will talk about your smoking, your blood pressure, your diabetes, but we don't talk about these as well. So, but the difference is as well, animals don't do this. They don't sit around and they only react to real danger, physical pain, physical injury. We are different. Yes, we have those physical injuries as well, yes, but then we have emotional injuries as well. So because we spoke about our thoughts as a very important thing, so what is meant by distorted thought? On the handout there, I've just put a little bit of things as well, but just to expand it, I've got another sheet here. I found that very useful, because we can see ourselves in that sometimes. And it's good to sort of go through and see. So these are the thoughts that and what is anxiety? If somebody asks me, what is anxiety is, we imagine the worst case scenario and overthink it over and over again, and we catastrophize everything. For example, say if I fail an exam, what do I think? Oh my gosh, I failed an exam, I'm not going to get a job, I'm going to be really bad, and my uni is going to kick me out, and when I go home, my mom and dad are not going to respect me, and they think I'm an idiot, I'm not as good as my brother or my sister, and life is going to be terrible, and we just imagining things, and we feel really bad. So I'm sure we can identify some of these thoughts ourselves. And then another thing is overgeneralizing. That's all anxiety symptoms. We overgeneralize. Say we played badly in a game or something like that. Then every time there's a game coming up, we're going to think we're going to play badly again, it's going to affect us, and we just imagine these scenarios and just get affected by that. And depression is all on this. All of this can come to anxiety and depression as well, but I just thought a couple of examples. So depression, if I go on all or nothing thoughts, say if I don't go to a job, if I don't get promoted, then I come home and think, okay, I'm useless, I will never get promoted, my boss doesn't love me, he discriminates me because I'm a Sri Lankan, I'm short and I'm ugly, he doesn't like, it's just imagining these things and putting myself down, and I get more and more depressed. So, and also jumping into conclusion. For example, if I call a friend and she doesn't return my call, I just say, oh, she hates me, and maybe I've hurt her some way or some other, and I just, again, think about this, and then I call my other friends and talk, no, this one didn't return my call, and just get into this frenzy. This is what causes our depression as well. So our thoughts are very important. So another example I mostly use is as well, say if somebody tells me, I go to a doctor for results, and they tell me, Manju, you got cancer, you got 2 years to live. Yeah, it'll be horrible, but we have a choice here. We can make the next 2 years the best 2 years in our life, or we can make it the best, start dying now and make it the worst 2 years in our life. So that thought can really change us into what we want. Yes, it's simple. Yeah, but it's very difficult to practice, I agree. Similarly, if I have a, say, bad childhood, so why am I suffering now? Because I'm thinking about, I'm not having a bad childhood now. Say if your mother abused, so my mother is here, I mostly use this example, but if my mother abused me, she never did, never. But why am I suffering? Because I'm thinking about it and thinking about it. And guess what? Sometimes my sister or my brother might cope well. So it's a similar genetics, similar environment, similar circumstances, two different outcomes. So it's more than genetics and things. So what really, that's why, so we think it's the circumstances that affected us. It's my upbringing, we blame it. We blame my relationship because my husband, he's not here, he's walked out. So blame. So we blame somebody, and we sort of constantly blame somebody else. It's my mother-in-law or something. Or it's my genetics. My mother was depressed, my dad was depressed, my uncle did this. So we are at high risk. I'm not saying these don't they do influence, they do trigger, but they don't determine it. They don't determine at all. Changing government policies, not going to change yes, it can help, but it's not going to change how I feel. It's only I have to change it. So basically, this is the triangle I like to say. It's the mind. So what we do is, when we receive an information, what are we doing? We don't take it as a neutral. Whatever happens is a neutral. If I don't get a promotion, it's a neutral. We don't have to now sit analyzing. This is where our conscious mind is a problem. That's why the animals don't do this. We sit there, we analyze, interpret it, compare, imagine, and choose to react. And then we feel, our emotions go down as well, and then our behavior. And that my behavior is going to confirm my mind, my thoughts. If I think my boss is an awful boss and I feel bad, I don't work very well, and then the boss is going to not like me and say, look, I knew he doesn't like me. So this goes in a vicious cycle, yeah. So basically, so just put down that, it's in your handout as well. I just call it my 5 noble truths. Basically, the fact is you cannot control the world. I can't change the world. And the world doesn't have the power to make me feel good or bad as well. So don't get into this, don't blame anything else. The world doesn't have the power. And only you can change your feeling each and every time. Changing your mind is the only thing that's going to change your life. And the good thing is, this is the good news, the last one. Each and every one of us have the potential to change it right now. We don't have to wait for anything. We don't have to wait for the next promotion, wait for me to finish uni, wait for me to get more money. We can do it right now. So basically, there's a psychologist here as well. This is what the psychologists use. It's called a CBT, a cognitive behavioral therapy. So when we are in this toxic zone, like we saw before, with toxic thoughts or distorted thoughts. I call it toxic thoughts because it's going to lead to toxic the body, in your hormones in your body. The only way to change into the other zone is to change your thoughts. That's what the CBT is simplified, obviously. I'm going to just simplify and outline some of the therapies or whatever, because it's useful if you are going to a psychologist or somebody's going to a psychologist. This is what they're going to come across as well. So it's good to understand the basic. Go and do your own. I can't talk about the whole thing about CBT, you'll be here all day. But just go home and have a little bit of a research, look into it, and what it is, and how does it work, and all that stuff. That's just a CBT simplified. And this is another therapy that recently come out. It's called the ACT therapy. Basically, I like what he says, because what he's saying is it's a sort of extension of CBT. He recognizes that humans don't have this healthy normal. We are not normally healthy. We have some issues, all of us. Every one of us have this. If you read that ACT therapy, it talks, we are no healthy normals. Our nature is, our mind is often destructive. Our mind is very powerful, yes, but very often disruptive or destructive. So it creates psychological suffering even when all our goals are met. Even if we are in a healthy environment, we are still going to suffer because of our mind. And so we are not naturally going to be happy and content and psychologically normal. We are naturally not meant to be like that. So this is the problem. And we all know that, that's why. So if everything is going well, we're still going to have issues. So he came out with acceptance, that's what the ACT stands for, acceptance, accept the situation, accept the world, and just enjoy the present moment sort of thing. And the commitment is choose a good value. Whatever that value could be, maybe, that's what he's saying. And then have a value, commit to it. That's the commitment part, and have a value-directed, purposeful life. So, but it doesn't explain why our human nature is that destructive. It doesn't explain where do you get the value from, but at least we know what good values are. So why are we still seeing massive rise in mental health? Massive. And these are people who had everything. I know these are the recent suicides I put it together, just Robin Williams, Kate Spade, Anthony, whatever, how you pronounce his name. These are all the happy, high achievers. And a lot of people will want to be in their shoes. And it's quite sad. And then this is another one. Michael Phelps, some people might know, he went through a lot of issues. He had so much goal, everything going for him. He achieved his goals more than what he expected or anybody else expected from him. But he's still struggling. They all come to the top, and they still feel empty. There's something missing in all of them. That's what happens. They still feel hopeless. They still feel purposeless. Their inner tank is empty. And yes, years of counseling and medication can help, definitely helps, but doesn't relieve everybody's emptiness. And so the question comes, that's what got me into this. Are we effectively treating, and what can we do? What more can we do? Yes, we need the doctor, the psychologist, and all that, and the medications, but what can I do to prevent this initial step? So, and the problem is we are seeing it in the both spectrum, people who have nothing, and at the same time, so again, this guy had nothing, no legs, no arms. And then we see Michael Phelps, who has everything, the fittest body, in a way. And he calls himself the bully magnet, because when he was in school, he was bullied very badly. You can imagine why. No arms, no legs. So he also contemplated suicide. And then when you go to a prison, prisoners, these are the American Angola prison is called. It's the bloodiest prison because it's the maximum security. Nobody even bothers to go there. It's hardened criminals there. How do you bring hope to these people? What can you do to these people? How can you help them? So we can see the both spectrum, people who are doing well in life and doing badly in life, same issue. Emptiness, something missing in life. So that's what got me into, so what actually is missing in our life? I'm sure we've always asked these questions. So there's these questions that we all want answered deep down. At the end of the day, whatever we do, especially when we ask this question is why, when we ask is when we are in a deathbed, when we are in trouble, that we always ask this question. And also when we achieve something big and our goal is achieved now, tomorrow, what now? Why am I here? What's my purpose? Who am I? What am I worth? Is it my gold medals? Is it my title behind my name or in front of my name or whatever? And where will I go from here? Where do I come from? Where do I go? So this why, who, what, where questions comes to all of us. And we ask this, I'm sure all of us have asked, I've asked these questions, but we think, financial stability, relationship stability would fill this, or answer these questions. And we soon find it doesn't answer as well. With money, sex, fame, power, success, achievements, doesn't answer these questions. So we need something more meaningful, lasting, significant, and worthy of this life. So these fundamental questions, what it answers is, these are our deepest needs, I call it, the sense of belonging. So we need to be loved, we need an identity, we need to answer these questions, we need security and hope, and the purpose, value. We need moral values as well. If you have children, if you don't give them a right and wrong, then it's very hard for them to cope with that. A good example, if you go to a sporting field, there are rules for a reason, because we can enjoy and others can enjoy the game. So that's why the moral values are important as well. And we need a community. We are not individual people. We need the community as well. So this is what's missing in these most people. If you look at any articles, the deeper, there may be more, but these are the basics. There's the deepest need that we need. So what happens is if these needs are not met, that's when our mind is going to be destructive. But if these needs are met, mind is going to be very powerful. Good example, again, we thought, that's what the thoughts comes from these. If these needs are met by my husband or my mother or my friend, we feel loved, we know who we are, so we feel that, and then we sense a belong. But guess what? These are not lasting. These are all fleeting. Yes, I might feel this today, and then 6 months later, now what? So it can change as well, yes. And so what really answers these questions is our worldview, our belief. Because if we believe there's no God, that we were just an accident, this could be a bit of controversy for some people, but if we believe that there's nothing at all, we just an accident, we just came back, there's no purpose in life, the grand scheme of things, we are just ultimately worthless, we come, we go, nothing. And morality is very subjective. I do what I like to do, you do what you like to do. It's just a preference, that's all. There is no objective moral values. So these needs don't get filled in the atheistic worldview. But if we believe that there's a God, and each of us, we feel that we are created by this almighty God who loves us, cares for us, and protects us, gives us purpose, and sort of more than but a purpose that is something more bigger than ourselves and goes beyond our personal circumstances, our social situation, and our material world. There is a purpose. If we feel that, yes, we'll get these needs filled, no doubt. And also, if we believe there's a God, we always feel that there is a sacred text, and we have a moral law there, and we try to follow that. That helps. And also, and a community, but like as you can see, there's a community as well when you go to a church or a temple or whatever. So that community helps as well. These are the enormously protective factors, and life-satisfying, deepest needs can be given. So if you can ask the question, how do these people recover? Michael Phelps, how did he recover? And go back and play and get more gold medals. He actually was in a deathbed in a rehab hospital, and so a friend of him gave him a book called Purpose-Driven Life, written by Rick Warren. The book is there for sale as well, if anybody wants to buy it and read it. Basically, it's a purpose-driven life. What is our purpose? What is the driven life? And why on earth are we here for? What is our purpose? So that sort of answered his questions. And that sort of, within a week, he changed. And he sort of realized there is a greater power than him. And he turned to believe this greater power. And then he restored his relationship with his God, or the greater power. And then he restored his relationship with his father. That's one of the issues as well. He didn't have a relationship with his father. This give him the courage to go up to his father and mend that relationship as well. And then he married his long-term girlfriend, came back, and won another gold medal. And how did Nick Vujicic, that he also same thing. He also believed there's a greater power, and then he said, look, though I am now no arms and legs, God loves me. God gave me a purpose in this world. And as a lot of people know him, I don't know if you've seen him, he's one of the biggest motivational speaker. He has inspired and motivated so many people. That's his purpose. Wonderful. So, and the important thing is the Angola person. How do you rehabilitate them? If you give them educational or vocational training, they only become smart criminals. So basically, what the warden did is, look, nobody wants to come to this prison because they're scared. I will change them. So he realized the quickest way is moral transformation is to give them a faith-based rehabilitation. So what he did is he found the best self-help book, he calls it the Bible, puts it in every cell, and has a little bit of a Bible study. And over sort of a couple of years, the gang of thugs became gang of pastors, he called it. I have listened to some of these prisoners talk. They're never going to get out of the prison. They have never going to get out. So you might think but they are in so much joy, and they are saying, people outside are thinking they are free, but here we are free, I'm free. The best thing I can offer to my children who are outside is what I found here. They've been transformed. You've got to be transformed. The inner needs have to be met, and you've got to be transformed. So that he found the spirituality, so to speak, it helped. So let's see what are the famous, the well-known psychiatrists. What are they saying about mental health and spirituality or religion? Does it match? Does it affect each other? Yes, we can quote some examples, but does it really make a difference? So one of the things, so where do we meet our deepest needs? Yeah. So one of the things is Andrew Sims. He's a past president of the Royal College of Psychiatry in UK. So basically, what he's saying is the advantage, the effect of religious belief and spirituality is the best kept secret in psychiatric medicine. If the research had gone the other way, and it will be in the front page newspaper, nobody wants to talk about it because they think it's a controversial issue, we shouldn't talk about it. But the fact is that it is going to help people. So that is him. The other one is Carl Jung. He's a well-known psychiatrist again. He's saying it would be most unjust psychology to ignore religion. And he's saying his experience. I have treated many hundreds of patients over 35, and it's safe to say that most of them, or no, he says every one of them, fell ill because of they've lost what the religion has to offer, and they did not heal as well if they didn't have the religious outlook restored. So even people like this guy, who's Matthew Paris, he's a confirmed atheist. And he's saying is missionary. So he's from Africa. He wrote an article saying, "I can't believe I'm writing this as an atheist. This goes against my belief, but truly what I believe is Africa needs God. Missionaries and not money, because none of that's going to help. But Christianity is the only thing that's what he says. Christianity is the only thing that's going to change people's heart. It'll bring spiritual transformation and a rebirth that is real, and the change is good." So that's what he's saying. So to talk about therapies, I don't know whether people have heard about this 12-step therapy. It's on there as well. Basically, what it says is this is well used from 1935. So it's for more than 80 years it's been there, used as well. So it's influenced by Carl Jung as well. And this therapy has worked for 80 years. It's the most trusted method of addiction treatment. And we are using, it's very iconic now, they're using for Narcotic Anonymous and Alcoholic Anonymous, and even for mental health now. So basically what it says is thousands of ordinary people who were in seemingly hopeless situation and useless existence, actually, alcoholics, you can imagine, who actually exhausted all human resources. Doctors have given up on them too. Families have given up, society's given up on them. And when these are saying they changed, because when they came to believe there's a higher power, that revolutionarily changed them. And they not only just changed them, but they became advocate to help others. And even they are treating and helping others. So it's basically the 12th step is to go and serve and help and carry the message, sort of thing. So I just put those 12 steps in there because I just keep an eye on that. It's just because I'm going to talk about awareness, the 5 A's I call it. The awareness, anchor, acceptance, and amends or apology, and appreciate. So that's the steps, but just classify it to make it easy. The 12 steps can be a bit long for everyone. So another therapy, this is done by Albert Ellis. He's also another very well, he founded this treatment. But it's not used, unfortunately, because what he's saying is the toxic zone, poor mental health, is because we are all, whether we are religious or not, we all have assumptions or beliefs about things. What I believe about myself, what I believe about others, and what I believe about my world or the God is going to affect my thoughts. So we have to challenge our beliefs and change our beliefs as well. Otherwise, we are going to be in this zone. So obviously it's not very used now because it's very hard to who's going to challenge your belief. If you go to a psychiatrist or friend or whatever and challenges your belief, you're not going to take it, are you? So that's why it's not used much, but it's a very useful treatment. That's was used those days. So that's so also there is a lot of peer-reviewed articles that's at the end of the day saying that keeping patients' beliefs spirituality separate from the patients are not going to help them. We got to bring it back together for their recovery. So what we sort of probably your understanding from by now is we are made out of 3 different components. This body, which is a physical part of us, and then we have this non-physical part that we can't see, mind, and there's a spirit. So we are body, mind, and spirit, and we all know that. But we ignore the other parts, and we only worry about the body. So all these have needs. Like we know our physical needs. We know how to fulfill them. We are very good at that. But there is also other needs in the inner needs as well. So unless we fulfill all 3 needs, we're not going to have a well-being. So it's pretty obvious the role of religion and spirituality on mental health and resilience. There's enough evidence. And if anybody wants to come and talk to me, I'm happy to show all those and discuss, and you can have a look as well. So this actually throws the disease treatment into question, doesn't it? Are we treating our patients well? Are we treating our family well, our friends well? So for me, yes, our medicine and my spirituality, I see it doesn't contradict at all. It absolutely is spot on. So let's see what the scripture says. This is one of the scriptures that I looked at, and I thought, yeah, it did explain it well. Basically, it explains why humans are unique. The first chapter in Genesis, if you read, it's there. Because everything else, He created everything, He says, and everything with a word. But when He came to human, He created with His hands, and He breathed into it. And that's in the nostrils and that became the living soul. That's when human became a living soul, they say. That intimate connection was there. And it explains, so that living soul is our conscious mind. That's what differentiates again from we saw. It explains why we are different from animals. It doesn't minimize it. It doesn't say we are different because we got bigger brains or whatever. It says we are different because we have this conscious mind that was given by God, it says. So it explains it. And then it also explains that our deepest needs were met at that point because God was there with us, the intimate relationship was there, He was walking with us, talking to us, Adam and Eve. So that explains that as well. But what went wrong? The world is not like that anymore. So it's not the innocence of Garden of Eden is not here. So what went wrong? So why do people suffer? Does it explain it? So it doesn't sort of say, it's just luck, good, bad luck, that's why you are suffering, just get on with it. Or it doesn't say, God is punishing you. It doesn't say that at all. Some people think that it says that you are a sinner, that's why you are suffering. No, Bible doesn't say that. And it doesn't say it's your past karma or it's your past sin. It doesn't say that as well. And it doesn't say just because you have desires or attachments, just leave that and you'll be fine. Just go and sit and meditate or whatever. It doesn't say. It says why we suffer is because we have this same thing, our mind. God said, don't touch the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So that little thought came into our mind. Did really God say that? I don't like it. We still do the same. Why follow Him? Who cares? Surely, does it matter? Nothing will happen, I'm sure nothing will happen. We doubt God's goodness. We say, look, He doesn't want us to enjoy and have a good time. So He's a joy killer. But what happened in Garden of Eden? They went and ate. So we want to search, we want these answers. So we think we can get it somewhere else. So we go and search for answers. So we go and tree of knowledge or knowledge of good and evil. And what happened? So that's what causes, they say, we think that we know what good and evil is. We define it now. If you ask somebody, I think this is what is right, this is what is wrong. We play God. We make our own rules. And what happens, what the Bible says as well, surely you will die. Adam and Eve didn't die, they spiritually died. Yes, they felt empty. They didn't have that contact with God. They disconnected. And and the power, they lost the power source, and they plunge into darkness. Then that's the effect we are seeing. So it's still happening, and we are still going through that. So our emotional health declines. We do relationship badly. We don't do relationships well at all. We hurt each other. We hurt ourselves, and others hurt us as well. So what does the Bible say about fixing it? It doesn't say just go and try harder. Just think differently. Change your thinking. Work hard. Follow some traditions. Go to church regularly on Sundays. Sacrifice or meditate. Or detach, your attachment is a problem, your desire is a problem, just detach, you'll be fine. So how does it, so it says restore the relationship back with God. So what happened is, we are spiritually dead. So the only way to come back to life is to be grafted onto this dead tree, back onto the tree of life, that in Bible it says is Jesus. And that's the only thing that's going to spiritually transform you, and you're going to be born again, it says. You'll be born anew, a radical change in you, and new thoughts and new attributes. And this is what we are seeing in people as well. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people over the years are saying this. This is what fixes them. And Jesus also gives the promise there. So he says, I am the vine, and if you remain in me, you will bear fruits. You have to remain in, you have to go and do it. He doesn't give it to you. You have to remain in me. And then he says, I am the bread of life. But whoever hungers, shall eat. If you have to do that, you got to go. Similarly, his spiritual waters he talked about. If you thirst, you come and drink, and you'll never thirst again. That's the promise that Jesus gives as well. So it's interesting. So we have a choice. We can either choose, ignore all these, and go on with our lives, or take note of that. So, but the Bible also doesn't say that you will suffer. It doesn't expect suffering. You are going. It always says you expect suffering. It doesn't. What it mean by that is, it doesn't prevent you from a personal suffering. You will never know your answer for your personal suffering, but at the end, it will get you over. So, lack of faith does not guarantee struggles in life either. But also faith does not guarantee personal prosperity either. So what he's saying, the reasons you may not never understand, that's if you read the Bible, you will know the Job story, Joseph's story. Even if you look at the cross, he suffered as well. Yes, sometimes people don't understand why he suffered. But there is the reason behind all this for God. So that's what he said. So how do we increase our emotional fitness? So basically, if it comes for driving lessons, for example, we don't give our kid a key and say, hey, you drive your car now. But what we do is we give them the rule book, they read it, they go for a knowledge test, then they go on L's from 120 hours nowadays, and then they go on P's and all that. So even just a simple thing, driving a car, we got all these. So what I'm saying is, please make an effort to improve your emotional health as well. And these are just online, web-based CBT, or the CBT that we spoke about. So they are excellent sites. I've got the piece of paper at the back. I didn't put it in the pack because I thought not everybody will want them. There is this to pick up. This is done by the Black Dog Institute. It talks about the website and for young kids. There are different websites for older people, and whatever illness, whatever issues you are going with, you all can have a look. And even if I had a look at it, I registered myself. Probably the sites think that I'm very depressed and anxious and all that stuff, all the sites. But it's anonymous. You don't have, there's your own time. Just go through it, because I think it's useful. The only difference is there's no motive, because when you are down, sometimes you're not motivated enough. So, but here, if you have a psychologist, you have an appointment, you will go for it. But when you have this, you think, next time. Put a date alarm on your phone, go on these sites and see how they are. And reading books are useful as well. I've read hundreds of books, but these are the books I was telling you about before. So the first one is that guy with no arms and no legs. So he talks about standing strong. And he talks about bullying, which is fantastic, but also, what he said, and other issues as well. So that is an excellent book I found. That's for sale at the back as well. The middle book is the one that Rick Warren read the book, Purpose-Driven Life. That's again a nice book. The last one is the father writing of this boy who has no arms and no legs, how he parented this perfect child, or perfect imperfect child. Very useful. With tears comes through when he talks about how he had to cope with having this first child with no arms and no legs. It's very hard. But he talks about how he managed that and how he brought up this boy as well. I think it's very good for parents, or parents-to-be, or grandparents as well. So that's the book that I'm going to talk about, or you can buy. And then this is very useful, free podcast. The first one is an app, a virtual hope box. It's a good app. The app that helps you, if you're anxious, for example, to calm down. So there are different things. I'll again talk about that app maybe later, but that's a very useful app. Just download it. I've downloaded it on my phone as well. It's very useful. The middle one, excellent, podcast. Caroline Leaf, she's a something or other, but she talks about the free podcast. So when I'm cooking, cleaning, my earphones are on, listening to Caroline Leaf. And it really educates you. And the last book is the Alcoholics Anonymous, the big book, they call it. It's online as well. If people don't want to buy it, it's online. You can read it. Very useful books. Just read. I know how many things we read, but we don't spend much time on these. So have a read of that. All right. So just to continue on, I thought I'll talk about what each one of us can do on a regular basis to identify what we are going through. So if you remember the 12 steps and the 5 A's I talk about is the awareness. So basically awareness means, yes, be aware of what to do and what mental health is, but also more than anything else to be aware of what we are doing. Normally the problem is we are not aware of this at all. We see it in others, but when it comes to us, some of us are not aware of it. So basically we have to do a test of our thinking. So what I say is put your thinking on trial. So there's a lot of, and writing it down is even better, because writing it down, it confirms to you. The first step is like even the 12 steps is admitting that you have a problem. So we have to be aware and admit that I have a problem. So there is, if you look at this sheet that I gave you all, at the bottom of it is got that website. So that's also the thinking styles, and it talks about how do you challenge each thinking styles. I didn't put it in everybody's package because it's on the website, and I don't want to, some may not even need it. So others might need more copies than one. So once you do it, you don't need to, you can just write it on a piece of paper, because it becomes second nature to us. So initially it's going to be hard, like driving a car. Initially it's going to be daunting and so hard, and what do? I don't know. Then eventually you just not close your eyes, but you just, you drive without thinking. So you can think about it thinking no, you had to think about it. Anyway, so that is, and also admit that you need help. I need help, I'm powerless, I can't do it on my own. That is important. So observe what you are going through, and then admit that you have a problem, and do your trials, do your homework every day even. Mainly, when you're going to do it, is mainly also, how do I know I'm going through a problem? If I feel very defensive when I talk to someone, I come home and I'm upset, then if you get upset, there's a problem with you. That's what people don't we blame the others, because that one, my friend ignored me. If I get upset, there's a problem with me as well. So that's where you put your thoughts on trial. Why am I upset? What am I thinking? Put it on trial. Or if I have a difficult relationship, the same thing. Just without thinking, it's their fault. Even if you think it's their fault, doesn't matter. You do your homework. You do what you can heal yourself. Don't blame others. So put your thought on trial. So do the worksheets, challenge them, and change them. At the end, that's what it comes to. And when you if you feel anxious and if you feel depressed, don't get anxious about your anxiety or anxiousness. Basically, let it you feel it, let it come and go. So basically, that's a good one. That's the app. I spoke about the virtual hope box. I like that because it's got that's a screen that you come to. So it's got these relaxation things. So it's called a progressive muscle relaxation. So he'll talk you through for 10 minutes, just close your eyes, relax, feel what you're feeling. Your muscles are tense. He just talks in a very slow, boring voice. So it's basically taking your thoughts away from everything else, just to relax and focus, and then you can do you don't have to go and meditate somewhere or whatever. You can do these simple things where it just calms you down. If you feel tense, just relax your muscles. If you feel your thoughts are coming through, don't try to change it. Just try to calm down and follow that. All instructions are there. So you can just focus on some object, close your eyes and focus on an object. That means your mind is being taken away from everything else for that moment. And then you are in a much more clearer, calmer way to think about it. So if you're having a panic attack, same thing. So I have asked patients to download on their phone, and they can use it. So they don't have to go and phone a friend. It's useful to phone a friend, no doubt. But they're not going to solve your problem. So you've got to learn to do it yourself. So learn that. So that's a good app to have. So download it. It's for free, I think. Then admit, I can't manage. So like the next step is just like the 12 steps again. And the REBT, or therapy, they talk about challenging your thinking and your beliefs. So basically, you need to anchor. So in a storm, if you anchor that, or if you have a building, if you have a strong foundation, that's when you're not going to fall off when the storm comes. So you've got to anchor on a very solid rock that doesn't change. So basically, it doesn't change, it doesn't stop the storm, but it can make you stable. It doesn't make you don't drift away and fall off and drown, sort of thing. So that's important to there. So that's another verse from the Bible which I found very useful, but some people it may not be as useful. But fine, if you don't build it on a solid rock, you're going to crumble. Your life is going to crumble when the storm comes. It's important to do it on a solid rock. So basically, then the next step is anchoring onto a value. It's very similar to the ACT therapy. What is your value? The best value I find is it encompasses everything, is love. So again, the Bible describes what love is. I thought that's the best description of love. Love is not a feeling. Some people might say, look, I don't feel I'm in love with somebody or other. But it's not, it's an action. It's a decision that you're making to be patient, even if they are stupid, you think. That's your thoughts anyway. So even if, not to be rude. Let them say whatever. That's not your problem. You anchor onto your value, regardless of how others behave. Then it's not about seek, it's about me. That's the problem again. We think about me, how I'm offended. I am me. Others. So that is important as well. So not self-seeking and not keeping record. It's like saying, okay, you did this when I was a kid, or you did this last month. It doesn't serve any purpose. And also be kind. So you can read not easily angered, not about boasting or envious, and just always trust, preserves, and protect others, and hope, and all that stuff there. So that cycle, just again about your thoughts or your value or whatever. So think where you are at the moment. It's good to do a test sort of thing, or you can put a percentage. I am 50%, I am 80% or whatever, and then tomorrow you can see, am I getting any better? Or you can put a little bullseye and see whether you're hitting the mark. And you assessing yourself, you don't want other people to judge you, you judge yourself, but don't be critical about yourself, but just say, okay, I want to change this. How can I change it? So you put your thoughts on trials again, and you can change it. So it's a good way for you to do it. This is what most psychologists, I think, do as well. There's a couple of psychologists here, but this is what they are doing as well for you. And they do more, but this is one of the things. So where have you been? What have you done? They're not judging you, but it's about encouraging you. So that's the good exercise to do. So again, anchoring exercises, so you did the awareness exercises from here. Anchoring exercises, basically saying, you're challenging you, like the therapy says, what is your belief? See whether it is rational, should you challenge it, and change it where necessary. And similarly, your value, challenge it and change it. That's important as well. So the other A I talk about is acceptance. Acceptance is in all the therapies, whether it's Alcoholics Anonymous, REBT, ACT therapy, all is all about acceptance. That's the biggest problem, not accepting the situation. So that is a beautiful serenity prayer. I mean, we all have heard that. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. If I can't change something, I have to accept it. I have no choice. I can't change it. That's what it was all about. And change the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The problem is we don't know the difference as well. So that is it. So what stress is the gap between my expectation and the reality. So that's lack of acceptance. So it's going on the same thing. So stop expecting people. We have lots of these you must, or she must, she should have, she shouldn't have. Those statements are absolutely useless. That's putting you as a victim, and they are in control. You're depending on them to change. So it's all acceptance about changing my reaction. So stop changing others. How many of us try to change others? I always say I tried to change my husband for the last 30 years. And unfortunately, he tried to change me for the last 30 years. None of us have changed. We just accept for who he is. So it's about not retaliating, not walking away either. Some people think, okay, if I don't like him, walk away. No, it's not about walking away. It's about accepting that person for who she or he is. And being there, being loving, and that's what tolerance is all about. People think tolerance is talk about other people must tolerate, but we aren't tolerating others. And so it's making a deliberate, so acceptance means, the next slide is the most important slide, very hard, but the most important is the forgiving as well. We can't say I accept you but not forgive you. So what forgiveness is, and why do we forgive? Who benefits from forgiving? We think, I can't forgive that person. It's not about that person. I forgive that person so I can benefit. I don't have to chew on this. So basically, it's absolutely necessary for my happiness, not that person's happiness, my happiness. It's necessary for a healthy relationship. I can't have a relationship with others if I don't forgive that person. So it's again my healing. I think I probably repeat that self. And also it leaves me in control. Like I said, if somebody abuses you or whatever it is as a child or whatever, me forgiving the parent or my sister or whatever, I can be in control. I'm not controlled by them now. Them behaving badly, and I am now behaving badly. I'm not behaving like a good daughter should behave because I blame my mother or my father, and I don't be a good daughter. So that means I'm controlled by their behavior. Don't give the remote control to others. You have it. You can count your value, and you are in control. So for that part of that is forgiveness as well. And it's given, even you are still hurt. Don't wait till you are not hurt. I'm still hurt. Some people say, you're always going to be hurt if you don't forgive. And also, they don't deserve it. Of course, if they deserve it, it's not forgiveness, isn't it? So you're forgiving somebody who doesn't deserve forgiveness. And they haven't changed. If you wait for them to change, you'll be waiting forever. And they haven't asked for forgiveness. They haven't come up and told you, I'm sorry. Doesn't matter. True forgiveness is that. Yes, it's very hard. I should admit I don't practice this all the time as well, try to. But we all don't. None of us do. None of us are perfect, but at least go home, think about it, and change it. Yes, we make mistakes, just change it. So that is the easy forgiveness exercise. The forgiveness exercise is the most important thing. So basically what we have to do is, we all agree and all the stuff, but am I happy to go home today and think of somebody I have hurt me, have been such a nasty person, I've been angry with all these years. Am I happy to sit there and think, okay, I'm going to forgive this person? You don't have to go and say, hey, I forgive you, but I mean, that's sort of, again, putting yourself as a big person. You just do something nice. Just ask, invite for a cup of coffee, and they say, shock them. I say shock them. Because they will say, what's wrong with this person? She wants something, she might kill me or something, but it doesn't matter. Just shock them, and they're still expecting you to say something, but you're not saying anything about it. You don't have to say forgive, you don't have to talk about it, you just say, move on. It's very hard, but we all have to do this. And I've got angry with people, and I've thought, okay, I have to practice what I preach, and I just go and say, okay, I will do it. And guess what? The look on their face is $1 million worth when they look at you and think, that's worth anything. There's no point in complaining and carrying on. So do that. So go home, exercise done. And the other one is apologizing. This is make amends. So this is also again in the 12 steps. It says, talk about for alcoholics to write the list of people you have hurt. Now we spoke about people who have hurt you before. Now you have hurt. Apologizing is important. The typical thing I say is, we all do this. Why do we argue with a friend or husband or wife or mother or father? Why do we argue? Because I think I'm 90% right. I'm convinced. The other person is arguing. What does he think? Or she think? They are 90% right. 10% maybe I'm wrong, and they can prove it. This is the things you've done. And I'm here trying to prove them wrong and saying these are the things you've done. So this escalates. And who would win this argument? It gets bad to us. We argue, and we get more evidence and more things, and bring your mom and dad into this, and make it a big fight, and then relationship falls off. So basically, just apologize for your small part. You don't have to go and say, oh, I'm sorry for every time, but you can say, look, we shouldn't be arguing this, or we should be not, let's move on, something nice, and just not worth there. So basically, you be the adult, take responsibility for your action, you make the first move. So again, apologizing is another thing is, yes, the exercise you're going to do is the same thing. So go home again, make a list of people that you have hurt, and make amends where possible, because sometimes some things may not be appropriate sometimes, but go and say someone you might have offended or you were angry with someone, just go up and say, I'm sorry. Again, shock them. Doesn't matter, so do it. So the last slide is, not last slide, but this is for the 5 A's. The last A is appreciation. How many of us give thanks and be grateful for what we have? Even on our worst day here, any one of you, I can tell you, on your worst day, I don't know your history, but I can tell you that, on your worst day, there are millions and millions of people who will still want to be in your shoes. So we don't see as glass half full, we always see as half empty. I got it right. Yeah, so basically that's important to be grateful. So gratitude exercise is journal, they call it, or gratitude exercise. These are all online as well. You can Google up and have a look. And 3 things I say, easy. Do an appreciation journal or gratitude journal. The first one is the 3 blessings. You don't have to be basically earth-shattering, lotto-winning blessings or whatever you want to call it. It's just simple things. How a day went today, or I was glad I had a nice coffee with my friend who always had a problem. This little blessings. They are all blessings. We don't count them as blessings. So just take those things. Then other things you can do is just walk around, look at the nature. Just walk around the street. We don't even look at the trees and admire them. They're all blessings as well. Appreciate it. Walk around your house and see the list of things you have and be appreciative of it. So if you feel down, if you feel things haven't gone well, appreciation is for what we have is the most important thing. So this is appreciation things that we have. And the other appreciation I say is appreciation of person. That's absurd. We don't do this. We don't thank people enough. I'm sure you might have a family member or somebody who might have done something to you, small or big or whatever, in the past or recently. Just write the list, write it in a nice card and say, look, I thought of giving this to you because remember 10 years ago you said this and that made a difference in my life. Remember last week you said this or whatever. Because we don't do those little things and that changes you and changes that person too. So do that. Those are the exercises we do to improve ourselves. So that's important to do this as well. So that's the homework. So hope everybody can do this. And while we do these homeworks, it's also important to keep in mind we are also modeling to our children. How we behave is the children are going to look at you. Yes, they are in control. They have a choice. But we are influencing them when they're young, yes. Yes, when they're adult, they're going to choose. The more likelihood of, obviously, the influence is there. So let's influence them. We are the first role models for them. We are their first counselor, and the most important counselor and first important role model for them as well. So let's model this and teach them as well. So let's go and practice this every time. So that comes to the end of my talk on the emotional health. And obviously, because it's Are You OK week, how do we help others was something that knew that I was initiated. I thought this is a very important day, Are You OK, because it has to be every day actually, but it just makes people aware of what's on. And that's why I wore these orange pants, or yellow pants. So you know the color. Just remember this. It is about, so asking others is important as well. So I thought I'll just briefly touch on how do you ask others? How do you, because people might say, I don't know anyone who's struggling, some might say. Look, 1 in 50 or 1 in 5 are struggling. So if you have 5 friends, or if you know 5 people, one maybe is not struggling. So how do you, it's important to know, how do I know who's struggling as well? So anybody having a difficult life, financial problems or whatever it is, so they may be struggling and they may not tell you, but you know they're going through a hardship. So reach out to them. Other people that are, if you notice a change in behavior, she always comes for coffee, or always comes to church, or always comes to work on time. She hasn't been coming on time. She always dresses well, but today, last few months, so you know that something's going wrong. Asking is important. We don't say, oh, no, it's not my business. What if she thinks I'm nosy? No, your job is to ask. And especially when it comes to children, okay, I should have gone. Thank you. So when it comes to children, when kids misbehave, we think, punish, all that. But really, sometimes they are struggling. That's why they are misbehaving. They don't come and tell you, hey, somebody bullied me at school. They might come and, oh, I don't want to talk to you, and go off, lock the door, shut the door, jam, and go in. What's wrong with you? Come here, come out. It's no point. What are you doing? We don't realize it. We've done this. We've done this to our children as well. Sometimes we don't go sit down and say, come, let's have a chat. What's wrong? We say, you shouldn't have done this. You know, behave you. So what's wrong with you? We've given you everything. Be grateful. But we don't realize they may be going through lots more issues than we think of. So, if somebody is struggling, what do they need? What we take from the last session, what the deeper needs. It is a sense of belonging, isn't it? So just you being there. So it's about connecting, reconnecting. I think it's sort of gone up. Make time to reconnect. So meaningful connection. It's not just, hi, bye, how are you? Are you okay? Ha ha. No, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, and walk away. Meaningful conversation, meaningful connection. So those two are absolutely important. So, and please go by your gut feeling. If you think there's something wrong, there is something wrong. You're mostly right. You're mostly right. So the question comes in, so that's about whom you ask. Not themselves, not turning up on time and all that. And so how do you ask? Obviously you're going to say, you look depressed. No, you can ask, look, you are not, is something going, be direct sometimes. So the questions you can ask is, I've noticed that, whatever. Is everything okay? Now you are a bit tired, or how are things going? So you don't see him yourself, what's up? Invite them for a coffee and ask that, just not on the road when you're just walking past. So then, how long have you been feeling this way? And just get the conversation going. Just open-ended question. Absolutely important. The last thing is important as well. Ask about suicide. Even as a doctor, we were reluctant to. I was reluctant rather to ask. I think if I ask, they're going to jump off the cliff, sort of thing. No, it doesn't. The fact is, by asking, people don't suddenly realize, oh, I never thought of suicide. No. So please ask them, have you thought of it? And how you ask that is, well, I thought I'll write it down. Others in the similar circumstances feel like taking their lives. Be direct. Have you thought of it? Have you felt like that life is not worth living? Have you planned is important as well. And you don't have to do it. You're not there to fix their problem. Asking, just being there is your problem. That's all you're doing at this moment. Just being there. So that's all they need. They want somebody to be there. And that is asking and talking does prevent them. So ask about suicide as well. The second thing is, so this ALERT, it's going to come down to, listen, L is alert, easy to remember. So A is for asking, L is for listening. So alert, so again, alert about others' mental health. So listening is important. So don't judge them. Oh, really? Oh my gosh. When they state suicide, don't show the shock and horror and, you can't. So it's very hard. It's very hard. So take your time, don't judge them, and give them time to reply your questions. Don't jump in because they don't know how to talk as well sometimes. Sometimes just being there, even if you don't talk. And don't rush and solve their problems, please. And please don't say, and this is what for new for me as well, don't say, look on the bright side. It's not that simple for them to look on the bright side, isn't it? You know they're a deeper problem. And then say, focus on the positives. Yeah, the gratitude things that we spoke about, focus on the positive. That comes, yes, but not the first thing that you're going to tell them. And don't ever say, I know what you're going through. Because for me, sometimes we always say, I can understand you, Don't say that because they feel you don't understand. So it's no point us saying that, even if you do understand. But do say, please say, you're not alone. How can I help out? You're not alone. That's the important thing they want to know. And I am here to take care of you. I'm here to help you. Call me anytime. So the other thing we realize, some people deny. You know there's a problem, they're going to deny. So don't get angry, don't get offended. Things may not go right. But say, just leave them and say, look, I'm always there. I'm here for you to help. You can always call me, give their phone number, then call them again and ask them. So also you can tell them, let's chat soon. Let's chat soon. I know you are trying to, let's talk another time. Let's meet up next week again or something like that. And again, like I said about the kids rebelling, there can be also some people who are going through trouble can be angry. They can lash out at you. And they can, so now don't react to that. That's the most important. Sometimes we don't realize, like I said, the kid is going through a difficult time. He comes to the door, we think, how dare he behave like. They are going to do that as well. Adults are going to do that as well. Then we have to be patient and take it. And it's not about us when we're going to help somebody, isn't it? So yes, they might find fault with you. They might say, because you said this and all that stuff. Don't get into an argument. Just let them talk because you are there for them. That's the whole reason. So don't take it personally because that's their toxic thinking. That's their distorted thinking as well. So they're going to say that. That's the L. The E is for encourage action. So encouraging how to manage and resolve and change. So how can you do that so remember, they're not motivated. That's part of their problems as well. The problem is they're not motivated. They don't have the energy. So basically, you've got to be there to help them out as much as you can. So help them to take action, not push them, but they have to do it, isn't it? So, but you've got to be there to encourage. That's why I encourage. Encourage them to go and get professional help. Have you seen the doctor? Have you seen the psychologist? I can come with you. Can I make an appointment for you? I'll be there for them. So, and admit, I'm not sure what to do. Let's figure it out together. And ask them, what do you think would help you? Because we think we have all the answers now, and we've got a list of things, and we're going to put it to them. Ask them, and then encourage them to do those actions. Let them work it out as well. So ask them, what have you done so far? Has it helped, not helped? So these are the questions you're going to ask them. And encourage self-help in the sense, we spoke about the apps and podcasts and books and things. At that stage, you can tell them after a while, these are the things I found it useful, patients have found, I tell them, or my friend found this, or Dr. Manju sat there and said something about it. But have a look. If you don't have a look, you can't talk about it. That's why you have to go and do your homework. Make this useful, because when we are here, we think, okay, we're not going to change you. I can guarantee you that. This will all be forgotten in a week's time, unless we do something, consolidate it, and do something about it today. So the R is to reassure. The alert part R, there is hope. But also reassure them confidentiality, and absolutely important. And confidentiality means, because they are going to open out to you, the most inner thing sometimes. So tell them, I will not tell anybody this, and don't tell anybody. That's the most important. Don't say them are confidential and go and say next, oh, do you know what I'm going through? No. Confidentiality. And tell them, the only time I'll break confidentiality is if I feel, that's what as doctors we do this as well, if your life is in danger and if I think somebody else's life is in danger, that means you're going to kill yourself or kill somebody else, or society is going to be in danger, then I will have to tell somebody. But if you want to tell another friend, what you can do is tell the other friend before you go and talk to them. And then we can go and say, Angie's going to talk to you as well, might call you because I just had a talk to Angie about you, or something like that, you know. So that means you've already told them I'm going to talk to so-and-so as well. So it's got to be friends that they can also relate. Not your friend, but they in the group. So that is, and also give them that confidence, saying you can get better, you will be able to concentrate more, you will be able to function better if you do this, and you will feel less anxious. Don't label them as a depressed person or whatever, but your anxiety will get less, or your symptoms will get better, or things like that. So reassure them all the time. That's absolutely important. And the last is making time. So it can be a call, a message, but please do meet with them as well. So make a coffee appointment. The best thing I find is food. Go and eat out somewhere. Let's go to a restaurant. How wonderful is it? Because you're stuck there for 2.5 hours. And you sit there and you talk to each other. There's nothing else nobody else to disturb you. It's fantastic. Go and eat. Or take some food, even better. Or let's do cooking classes. That's what I do. Cooking classes. Let's cake decoration classes. You know, so just make it fun and make it fun. You don't have to be bored because So that's what they need. So make it fun. Be there for them. That's the simplest thing. So that's sort of are you okay? How to ask the alert things. So go on. Easy. So I thought at this stage I've done most of my talking. That's good enough. I think I'll quickly give the floor to Angie, my daughter, because I thought, look, we feel we give our children everything, they'll be fine. Sometimes they're not. Any question time now? Okay.
So I think Manju's just going around with the box now if you have more questions coming out of the second half of the session. So the first one we have is, does it mean that a Christian who suffers from anxiety or depression has not really been transformed, or that the person's relationship with God is broken?
It's a good question, because we think if we have God, we're not going to suffer. But like the Bible tells, to expect suffering. Because we live in a fallen world. So we are all going to get dragged to the side, no doubt. But this is what's going to protect us is God at the end of the day, knowing. So like Angie said, yes, you go through that. You expect it, and it's going to go through that. But you are much better off to heal. That's not only the Bible is saying that, even the psychiatrists are saying that. The best way to heal is the Bible. So yes, Christians are going to suffer, you're right, but it doesn't mean, the Bible doesn't say because you are a sinner anyway, you are a problem anyway, you are not 100%, you're not going to be perfect. Yes, you're going to suffer because of that. But it's not a personal sin that because I did this, I'm being punished. No, you're not that's not the thing. So basically what it says is, because where we are in this world and who we are, our nature, we are going to go through this. But it's not because of your personal suffering, sin. Your personal suffering is not directly related to your personal sin or your belief as well. Doesn't mean if you believe, you don't. So those who don't believe doesn't mean they're going to suffer. They might be able to cope because we have the potential to do all this. So whether we can cope, it's a deep thing. It's a very hard to understand sometimes, yeah. So it's not your personal sin, no.
Probably in the same area is, does it matter which God we believe in? Because you put a lot of emphasis on religion and how it can help with a person's emotional fitness.
Yeah, again, it's a good question as well, because how the spirituality or religion helps, we went through. It is to know that there is a loving God, there is a God who will forgive you, a religion that's going to give you the strong foundation, the scriptures, or any scriptures, and a moral law, all that is necessary. So yes, if you can find, yes, this is what I found is useful in that sense. And yes, if you can find something that you'll be useful, for no doubt. You don't have to be a Christian, I agree. But you've got to find something that has got all that. You need that spiritual side nourished as well. And get it in, and there are a lot of false claims out there. There are hundreds of false claims, and you got to work it out for yourself. What is useful and what is going to help in the long run. Yeah.
Something else is, what are some examples of how we can improve our emotional fitness?
Yeah, I thought I went through the 5 exercises. I think, again, I'll emphasize this. It's the 5 A's. I think I call it, in your handout, it's there, 5 A's, the 5A detox program, I call it. Just detox your toxicities. So if you go through that, that's where you're going to get your fitness. If you go to the gym, you have 5 different exercises sometimes, your bicep curlers and your triceps and your, I don't go to the gym, so whatever, your personal trainer there trying to tell you what to do and all that. And you spend hours. And similarly, spend hours on these 5 exercises. Or you can add more and do 10 if you want to. Get more fitter. So that's what's going to make you fit, definitely.
What about things like yoga or meditation or like physical exercises as well?
Physical exercises is good for you, for physical health, definitely. But at the end of the day, it's fleeting, isn't it? I go to the gym, I feel great, or I go to a cricket match or play cricket and come home, I'm feeling fantastic. And the next day, you're back to square one because it doesn't fix a long term. And it's also how we think about the exercise. If you send me to a gym, do you think I'll have these nice, good hormones going? Or my husband always asks me to come for a cricket match. Do you think I'll love to go and sit and watch cricket? No, it'll get my stress hormones high. So it doesn't help everyone. So exercise not necessarily for everyone, but just outgoing and outdoor and walking, that sort of a thing. Because when you walk, what happens? Your thought is now beautiful, and you're thinking and you're appreciating. So that's what's going to heal you. So yes, anything that you do, it's, at the end of the day, it's how you take it, how you think about it. Yes, it's useful. The meditation, it depends on what you talk about, what you mean by meditation. Some meditation says, yes, you got to go to a special place, sit there with candles and all the stuff, sort of thing. But at the end of the day, you don't want to walk away from problems. What I'm saying is, you go into the problem and see what the problem is. So the Eastern meditation is normally switching off. I call it rebooting, where you reboot. You just switch off and then start again, and you're a new person. But it's just rebooting it, that's all. But the meditation you should be doing it is reprogramming. So not rebooting, so remember those terms. You're reprogramming. Meditate, but by reprogramming. It is by using God's word, or self-help books, and reprogram your mind. So the relaxation that I spoke about, you can classify that as meditation if you want to, where you relax your muscles, sit down, breathing in and holding it. Breathe in 3 seconds, hold it for 3 seconds, breathe out for 3 seconds. It does slow your heart rate and everything down. The parasympathetic nervous system and all that stuff works, so your oxygen increases, all the stuff, it just calms you down. Yes, like a panic time. That exercise the app I spoke about, that talks about that, how you breathe, sit down in exercise somewhere. It's not a meditation, it's called more progressive muscle relaxation. It's a different term, but similar things maybe. But meditation, yes, it's useful, but not, you need to do your retraining your brain as well, or reprogramming your brain as well, yeah, not just switching off. Switch on the brain, yeah.
Something that Angie touched on was medication for depression. How do antidepressants work?
Yeah, antidepressants, it's a step care. So initially it's a self-help, what you do at home. then only, it's like if you have physical illness, if you have a flu, you don't run to the doctor and get some antibiotics. Some do, but you basically do your symptom relief, you do your preventative, you do your flu vaccines, you do your vitamin C's, keep away from anybody who has a flu, all this type of things. So similarly, you do all your preventative things for mental health, take your exercise, keep healthy, and then you go for help, a psychologist or whatever, then you go for medication. How medication works is, I just briefly touched on, it's these neurotransmitters, like I said, the feel-good hormones. It's dumped into these synapses when you are in a happy mood. There's a low level of it. So what the medication is doing is stopping this reuptake. It's taken up again and ready to go again. Packaged and ready to go. It's amazing how it works. In a split-second, nerve conduction happens. And so what the antidepressant does is it stops most of the antidepressant stops his reuptake sort of thing. So it doesn't fix your problem, doesn't it? So it's good because it's still at least getting to a stage where you can cope with and you can now reprogram your mind, but that's how it works. And it's got a place, but it doesn't solve everything, yes. You need to retrain your brain as well. That's how antidepressants work, yeah.
Amanda, were there other questions? I have one question. What are the physical symptoms of anxiety and depression?
Right. I think I touched on one of the things about how when the alarm centers goes off,
Yeah.
how your heart rates, and so there's a lot of, like, you can obviously study it a bit more deeper if you want to. I think I encourage that, like I said, go, and I can't talk about everything, but this, anxiety is, you suddenly find you're sweaty, your heart rate is up, your stomach is churning, the usual things, like when we all go into a bit of panic sort of thing, but the constant, there's no obvious reasons, you get these symptoms, you can't sleep, your normal functioning all stops, and you get this flight or fight response. You either want to, like that sort of fear sort of thing, yeah. That's what anxiety symptoms are, yeah.